I'm gonna put you on hold, and then wait 2 seconds and go. Okay.
Okay, you got it.
All right.
Hey, everybody. What a thrill it is to be back on Talk Radio 102.3 WGOW. This is the Barbecue Show. I'm your host, Steve Ray, coming to you live from Ooltewah. The last time we spoke on Talk Radio, we talked about cars and all the junk in your garage you had for sale. Remember those days, Saturday mornings? That was a long time ago, and a lot's changed. But, not much for me. I still own the Midnight Oil Service Station in Ooltewah on Exit 11. 38 years this Christmas Eve. Can you imagine opening up a gas station on Christmas Eve? Kids are grown. Some even have their own kids themselves. But for me, about 7 years ago, and I'm going to tell you where this show came from. About 7 years ago, I was home watching television on a rainy Sunday afternoon, just flipping the channels, and I landed on a show called Barbecue Pitmasters. It was a season 1 marathon. I didn't think much of it at first, but the longer I watched, the more interested I got. There was this guy named Myron Mixon. He was trash talking some guy about something called cupcake chicken. And there was Tuffy Stone, and this guy was a genuine barbecue nerd, and he was losing his mind over forgetting to put sauce on a brisket. And there was Leanne Whippen and her boyfriend getting ready for a barbecue contest, and you could see the relationship wasn't going that well. I loved every minute of it. The next day at work, I gathered some of the guys who were hanging around the gas station, and I suggested that we start a barbecue team. Little did I know what I started. Over the last 7 years, I've traveled the southeastern United States competing in barbecue contests, some big ones and some little ones right here in our area. Along the way, I've read everything I could get my hands on about barbecue, went to barbecue classes by the greatest pit masters in the United States, and spent countless hours cooking on everything from small stick-burning smokers to water smokers to gravity smokers to huge stick burners and pellet grills. I cooked everything from a chicken thigh to an entire pig. That's right, the holy grail of barbecue, the whole hog. I've learned a lot, shared a lot, and found out one thing, that I love everything about barbecue, and that's how the show was born. The show's been on the internet for 2 years on my Owl's Nest Barbecue Facebook page, and now I'm bringing it to Talk Radio 102.3. We're simulcasting to Facebook, at least we're trying to right now, and you can watch, or you can just listen, or you can do both. Either way, from now on Friday nights at 7 here in Chattanooga, I'll be right here talking about barbecue, food, equipment, rubs, sauce, and most importantly, the people. And that's the story of where this show comes from. And now, with all that in the background, now let's get down to business. Let's talk some barbecue. The broadcast partner of the barbecue show is Backyard Smokers Barbecue, the #1 destination on Facebook for the backyard barbecue warrior. Our producer in the WGOW studio is Joe Varner, and the host in the Facebook chat room is Jeff Maxwell of Smoking Ghost Barbecue Team. And I'm going to tell you right now, it feels good to say this. Phone lines are open, 423-267-1023 for your questions about barbecue and live fire cooking. This is the Barbecue Show. This is Steve Ray, and I'm listening. And I tell you, I couldn't think of a better person to kick off the first night of the simulcast with than my buddy David Bouska from Chandler, Oklahoma. Now, folks, let me introduce you, Chattanooga, to David Bouska. And all my internet friends, you all know David, Trish, everybody watching, Jeff. But let me tell you about David. He's a 2-time barbecue world champion. He won the World Food Barbecue Championships and the Jack Daniels Invitational Barbecue Championship. He's a multi-time winner on Barbecue Pit Masters, making the finals in the greatest season of them all, Season 5. He's a master of taste and of flavor and the owner-operator of Butcher Barbecue Products. And if you've ever been in my store in Ooltewah, you've seen an entire wall of only his products. He's from Chandler, Oklahoma. Welcome, David, to Chattanooga, Tennessee. How are you doing, buddy?
Man, I am doing great, Steve. I appreciate the invite and the flower petals. And to everybody out there listening and watching, this is going to be a fun show tonight and from this day forward.
Yeah, David, when I was thinking about who did I want to get to be the first guest that could really be super interesting. Not that everybody in barbecue is not interesting to me, but I wanted them to be interesting to everybody here in Chattanooga, and plus on the internet as well. And I didn't have to go far. I thought of you, and because your history and how you got to where you are is a fascinating history. And let's share with everybody the David Bouska story, journey to barbecue, a little bit, so everybody here in Chattanooga can kind of get to know you.
Okay, I'll be happy to. I actually live right now about 5 miles from where I was raised. So I'm an old homeboy, just like probably everybody else here. I was raised on a farm, Angus farm, actually. I've been 34 years. I got into the meat cutting business when I was 15 years old. I was in it 34 years, owned my own meat processing plant. We did custom slaughtering, but I've done retail. I've done wholesale. Man, I've done it all in the meat world. And I shot competition archery, just fell in love with it, head over heels. Well, health reasons why I had to get out of it. And those old male competitive juices of wanting to win, be better than somebody else was still flowing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I just happened to see an ad in a local paper about a barbecue contest, and I thought, well, that's unique sounding. So me and my wife went up to it, walked around, and just thought, I think I can do this. I never thought that I would go into competition cooking ahead of anybody with the meat knowledge I had and the protein and the science and all that I already possessed. But I thought I might go in equal, and then I'd learn from that point forward. And that's exactly what we did. And that's where we are right now. I've been competing ever since. We were doing in upwards of 30, 35 contests a year. So that means every weekend for 30-some weekends, I was on the road. I was traveling somewhere in the United States. We've cooked from Florida. I've cooked briskets all the way up in New Hampshire. We've cooked in California, Nevada, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Mississippi. Gosh, the list goes on and on and on.
So you were a barbecue road warrior, and you still are.
Yeah, I was. I don't know how many trucks I wore out, trailers. I sure had enough flats on the side of the road that could take care of a lot of companies.
The most interesting part of your story, though, you left out is the name of your team and the name of your business, where that came from.
Well, yeah, it's just Butcher Barbecue, BBQ. I just like the abbreviated part of barbecue, but just Butcher. To me, I was trying to find something that rattle off the top of your tongue, and I like what I did in my life. I never looked for another job. I loved cutting meat, and so I wanted to carry that through with what I had going, and so we came up with Butcher Barbecue.
And David was a butcher for what, 30, 35 years, David, before you retired from that business?
Yes, sir. And that was the hardest decision I ever made, was the day I actually hung up my scabbard, put my knives in it. I'm just going to tell you that was difficult because I just enjoy doing it, and I still do. Yep.
David, do you think being a butcher and around meat all your life gives you an advantage? Because I remember one time when I was watching the finals on season 5, you were doing that whole hog against Lene Oxley and Rod Gray, and you were talking about you were injecting a pig. And you were talking about going into a vein because you knew where it went, and I thought, that's kind of an unfair advantage when you've got that kind of knowledge about an animal. But does it give you an advantage?
Yeah, actually, what you're discussing is what we call artery pumping, and that's how you can pump hams for getting a cure all the way through the meat without having to adulterate it with a bunch of needle marks. Does it give me an advantage? I'm not going to say an advantage, but knowledge. And knowledge is an advantage over someone that doesn't have it. That goes in life with everything. And if it's cooking, well, okay, it gives me an advantage. But that's all that is, just knowledge.
Absolutely. And you can join the conversation, too, if you'd like to. 423-267-1023 if you have a question for David concerning anything barbecue. By all means, call in. Joe's manning the phones back at the studio. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, Steve, we have John on the line.
All right. Hey, John, what's up, buddy?
John, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, well, Steve, first of all, it's great to hear your voice on the radio again.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
But what I was going to say is I remember the show that you're talking about, but do you have a cookbook or anything? Or
do I? No. Lord, no.
No.
No, I sure don't. David,
Okay.
David, have you put out a cookbook
Okay.
yet?
Well,
I have some of my recipes published in other people's cookbooks, but I personally do not have a cookbook. I'll be the first to admit now, I'm not a recipe writer. I can help people out. I can do my own. I can help people. John, let's just say you're having problems with ribs or something. I can walk you through it. But man, to sit down and spend the time it takes to write out a recipe.
Go ahead, John.
To be honest with you, yes, I am, because my wife and my son love ribs, but my daughters don't. So, we had a cooker and a smoker, but I just couldn't make it. I couldn't make it work for the way they liked it. So.
Well, it's
Once
each your own. You just got to keep working at it, John, or you got to change their mind. Tell them that this is the way a good rib tastes. Get on board.
Well, generally, what we do is we go to a regular local rib smoke ribs. So.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And
support the local guys. John, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you very much.
oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
You bet. 267-1023. That's just the way you do it, Jeff, from John from Chattanooga. David, John brings up a good point. He's talking about flavor profiles is what he's talking about. He said his wife and daughter don't like his ribs. And that brings me to my next question with you before we go to the break here in just about 2 minutes. When you develop, and what I want to let everybody know that David owns Butcher Barbecue, which is a huge producer of rubs and sauces used by myself, and we sell them in my store, and used literally by some of the best contest cookers in the nation, including David. When you come up with something, David, what kind of a flavor profile are you looking for? Are you looking for the big pop, or are you just looking for something subtle?
For years I was all into the big pop, something right up front, smack you right in the face when you bit into it. But I'm going to tell you, in the last year and a half, I've slowed that down. I want more of a soothing umami / richness of flavor throughout the chew, the whole mouth feel. While you're eating it, I want you to enjoy it, and I want to be able to pick out flavors. I like it, maybe a sweet on the front, and then as you're eating it and the meat's mixing in while your tongue's sloshing it around. I like that to be able to taste the meat flavor, and then maybe a little bit of heat on the back if you like that in ribs. If it's pulled pork, if you like a little vinegar flavor, the little flavor like that. I've gotten to where I'm more of a savory type person. So yeah, I like the combination of the flavor throughout the product now.
I'm like that. I'm like that too, David. I like to taste the meat, but I want the meat to be the star. And a lot of people, sometimes they sugarcoat their barbecue with different rubs, different sauces, trying to. I was the same way when I started, trying to, make the next best thing, the next biggest thing, and sometimes it's good just to keep it simple, and maybe not try to get too crazy, especially when you're cooking for your family and your friends in the backyard. And we can go right into it right now before we go back to the break. What first biggest let's see, David. Suggestion, idea for the backyard person when they're just now getting started with concerning flavor, not method. We'll get into that later, but concerning just flavor.
What I would recommend is let's just start with the basics. Some salt, some black pepper. That's the two biggest umami flavors, two biggest everything. If you can get those two to where they balance. Now, when I mean balance is when you bite into it, take like a fried egg. When you bite into that, are you tasting egg or are you tasting salt? Well, maybe you got too much salt. Are you biting into it and you tasting just a lot of black pepper flavor or you got too much black pepper? Do that with a steak. Do that with other things. But if you're tasting the egg and then all of a sudden, there's a little bit of saline saltiness to it. And then all of a sudden, as you're eating that egg, Man, there's some fresh ground cracked pepper in that. Oh, I like the way that comes through. That's what you got to do with your grill stuff. And the beautiful thing with that is if you're cooking it out on the grill, that other flavor that we haven't talked about is the actual charcoal and or smoke flavor if you're smoking. That's nothing but a flavor. And it's how much of that you want to impart and when you want to impart it on the bite.
That's right. Joe, we'll go to the break in about 10 seconds. David, I want to tell everybody about the big day we're having tomorrow at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop. We've got the Smoking Barbecue Day. I've got Smoked Me Silly's coming up. Smoking Sweet Meats is coming up, and Choo Choo Barbecue, our own Sean Cosby here locally, is going to be here. David, you met Sean with me this summer over at your school in Mulberry, Tennessee. We're going to be having demonstrations all day at this little event we're having tomorrow. It starts at 11 and it goes till 4. We have got the comedy of Big Ed Kaler at 1 o'clock. We'll be set up in the garage. Eddie's going to do a little about a 40-minute comedy set for us, and it's just going to be a fun day. We'll have free barbecue. We did the David, we did the pork butts. Let's see, today is Friday. We did the pork butts on Wednesday, and we did the briskets today, and we'll be warming them all up in the smokers tomorrow, and we'll be serving them absolutely free samples of barbecue. So bring yourself and bring your family out to the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop in Ottawa tomorrow at 11 o'clock for a big fun day of barbecue all the way till 4 o'clock. You're listening to the Barbecue Show with Steve Ray, special guest David Bouska, and we'll be right back after this short break on Talk Radio 102.3 WGOW.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, Joe.
Still not hearing anything?
No. Isn't that weird?
Well, I mean, what do you want? Would you rather use Skype?
No, this is okay, Joe. This is okay. Have we just had one caller so far?
We got Trish just called in, so.
Okay, good. We'll go to the line. We'll go to the line with her.
Okay. And I've got somebody else on hold. I haven't answered that yet.
Okay,
so.
go ahead and answer it, and then you can. Hey Joe, you can just come on. You can just come back on the air and say you're up, Steve.
Okay. So bring me. I'll bring it back in and then say, hey, we got Steve ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good. Hang on.
You got that, David?
Yes, sir.
All right. The problem is I can't hear the radio through the headphones.
Oh wow. Okay.
When we go on the break, and it's just for the breaks. I don't need it. I don't need it any other time. Believe it or not, that's not an uncommon problem when you're having to go through Skype and everything like this. Usually we just call the hotline straight in, but we're having to go through Skype because of this COVID mess. So.
Yeah.
But it's sounding good on the radio side, everybody says. I can monitor it with my telephone a little bit, so we're good.
Is that what I'm hearing in the background?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm just listening for the commercials. Thank everybody watching on Facebook. You're watching the first simulcast, WGOW, Owl's Nest Barbecue Facebook page simulcast here live. We appreciate you watching, everybody tuning in. Trish, Al, Jeff, George, David Bouska with us, our special guest, all the way from Chandler, Oklahoma.
The man for a face for radio.
It's a lot of fun. Have you ever been on that Cooking with JT show, that barbecue guy, JT, Jeff Taylor?
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yes, he is very good.
He's pretty good now. All right, we'll be coming back in just a few minutes, just a few seconds, rather.
Welcome back to the barbecue show with Steve, Ray, Trish, and Hooterville Bulldog. We're coming to you in just a few. 267-1023. Now here's Steve Ray.
Thank you, Joe. Here with David Bouska from Chandler, Oklahoma. David, we've got a couple callers on the line. Why don't we go to the line and let them talk to David Bouska, because that's why they're calling. Go ahead, Trish.
Hey, Steve. It's Trish Hines from Sassy Q Barbecue. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? You're on with Steve and David Bouska.
Hey, David. I haven't met you yet, but I hope that we will someday. I simply just wanted to call and congratulate Steve on his big forum, and I'm excited for you, my friend, and just don't go too Hollywood on us, you know?
Well, I appreciate that, Trish. I got to tell you, I was telling David at the break, I'm more comfortable on radio than I am the internet. So I've got a good producer back. Joe Varner, our producer, is great. All the people at WGOW are old friends of mine, and they'll do good. It'll be a good show. It'll be a lot of fun. A little bit more dynamic than just a Facebook show.
I think so. Well, anyway, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to wish you well.
Thanks, Trish. Appreciate you very much. 267-1023. I think we got Ottawa Bulldog on the line. Go ahead, Bulldog.
Yes, sir. Well, Hooterville, I'm up here in your neck of the woods, Mr. Ray. So I've visited your fine establishment a couple of times. So my question was, I built my own smoker, I don't know, about a year or two ago. It was a reverse flow wood burning stove smoker. Mm-hmm. And I guess my question was, as a hobby smoker, what would be your recommendations, considering they have the electric, like Traegers and stuff like that for smoking, briskets and ribs and stuff like that? What would be your recommendation for just regular hobby backyard guys,
David, this
in the smoker world?
David, this is right up your alley.
Yeah. Okay, let me get a little bit of clarification quickly for you. Bulldog, did you say that you have one, or you want to build a reverse flow?
Well, no, sir. I built my own, and
okay.
I took a 50-gallon wood gray barrel and made a horizontal reverse flow smoker with a wood burning wood box for it and everything. And I turned around and sold it last year because it could smoke the snot out of some brisket, but ribs wasn't too good. And I'm thinking about getting back into it just for something, just to smoke some on the weekends and whatnot, just for something to do. And that's what I was trying to figure out was I've always been partial to wood burning because, guys on fire, they seem to go together real good. But, you always got these expensive plug-in, pellet grills and stuff like that. So for the backyard hobbyist, I guess, what would be your recommendation for that?
Well, if you really like the flavor of a wood-type cooker,
yes,
the pellet grills are something that I call it kind of like the sour cream of food. It's something you have to acquire because the smoke is so delicate, okay? It truly allows you to impart the smoke into the food where you want it and how you want it, like I was speaking of. But if you're liking a true wood fire type cook, Steve, what do you think about a pit barrel cooker?
Well, I love pit barrel cookers, David, as you well know. Easy to use. Relatively inexpensive. You hang the meat on them, Bulldog, instead of placing it on a rack. You can place it on a rack, but you hang ribs. It is if you like ribs, it is a rib machine. But Bulldog, it's funny you asked that question about pellet smokers. My guest David Bouska, two-time world champion. Guess what he won both of his world championships on was a pellet smoker. So don't let him tease you about the kiss of smoke. He knows how to use one, and I started using pellet smokers back in January, and I tell you, I'm like everybody. I've got an arsenal of stuff, but it's hard to get away from those pellet smokers because they are just, David, they're so easy to use and they make such good food.
Well, and Bulldog, let me explain what I love about it, okay? And this will let you make your own choice, okay? But let me tell you what I would call a sales pitch for every single one or every single type of a grill out there that's powered by pellets, okay? First off, pellets are becoming more and more easy to find. When I first got started, it was difficult finding good grade pellets. Now they're out there. Second thing is we say it's easy to cook with. It is easy to cook with, but you have to understand how to cook with it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like cast iron on a stove inside the house. You know, anybody can throw some grease in it and cook with it, but cooking with cast iron is still an art, okay? But the best thing about it is with the mechanics of a motor driving the fuel and not you shoving wood in, with the mechanics of the pellets driving the fuel, all you have to do is concentrate on two things: the flavor that you put on the meat and getting it cooked right. That's it. Don't worry about the fluctuation of the temperature, the wind blowing outside. Fanning the lid's not going to be that big a deal because most of them recover within 5 to 8 minutes. They're back to temp. Then you don't have to run. You don't have to think about, I'm going to run in the house for 20 minutes. I got to come back out and look at it, and it be 40 degrees different. So just concentrate on how you want the meat to be flavored and getting it cooked right to like what temperature. If you're doing a steak, if you want to reverse sear a steak, I want it to get to 140 and I want to stop. That's all you got to worry about. Don't worry about, is my wood seasoned enough? Is it too moist of wood? Is it too dry of wood? That kind of stuff. All you've got to do is dump your pellets in, pick the flavor of pellets you want, and take care of what you can control.
Okay. Well, that definitely helps a lot because I know with my wood-fired one, it was, if I'd smoked a brisket for, 12 hours, I was getting up every other hour in the middle of the night just so we could have it for dinner the next morning. So that definitely helps out a lot. I appreciate the help, fellas.
You bet.
Absolutely. And thanks for calling, buddy.
David,
Yes, sir, no problem.
We sell the Green Mountain Grill at my shop, and the old phrase, set it and forget it. It does ring true in the Green Mountain Grills. You can set the temperatures, and he brought up a good point. He wanted to cook something overnight, and you can do that with a pellet grill. I don't know about you use one that's a little bit more advanced than what I do, but I'm sure you can do the same thing, set the temperature and a time, and you can, if you were just doing something for the family or a small, home event, they're great. Like you said, you can change the flavors of the pellets. You can do things like at your school, combine flavors of pellets to come up with your own unique flavor.
That's absolutely right. I was just sitting here when you was talking about the Green Mountain Grills. I was sitting there counting. I've got 6 pellet grills, 3 pellet smokers, 2 charcoal cookers, and 1 drum smoker. And I've probably got, just roughly guessing, a half a bag of charcoal and a few 100 pounds of pellets.
Yeah.
Around.
Same here.
So.
And the thing is, when you're using a stick burner, if you want to change a flavor profile on your wood, well, you've got to find wood. People say, well, do you ever, and I've got a 48-inch Myron Mixon water cooker. I love to cook on that thing, David. I just love it. And I'll roll that out. Sometimes we have a big cook, and people say, well, do you ever cook with pecan? And I said, well, I don't. Not on this one I don't, because you can't find pecan. You don't call up the guy in Ringgold and say, hey, bring me a load of pecan, because there's not any. You can get hickory and oak, but when you start wanting to do a little more exotic woods, it's just like you said, you're limited. But with the pellet cooker, you can be cooking with hickory one day, and you say, I'm tired of cooking with hickory. You go to the back of the pellet cooker, you open the door, you put a bucket underneath, they all fly out of there, and then you put the door back on, then you fill it up with pecan.
Maplewood.
Yeah,
Pecan,
maplewood.
cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cooked 3 butts with cherry a couple months ago. I'd never used cherry wood in my life, and the color that it turned the meat was fantastic. I've never seen a reddish tint on a pork butt before, but it did turn it a reddish, a real light maroon. It was a totally different color than what I'm used to seeing, and the flavor was great. But it was just something like, that's neat. But had I not had a pellet cooker, I would have never known to do that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's don't make it hard on yourself. I always tell people it's good to know fire management. You brought up the pit barrel cooker. You do learn a little bit of fire management with that. It's if you follow the instructions, it'll work. It basically works by itself. With very little fire management skills, but you do have to have some. Another smoker that comes to mind, David, is the Weber Smoky Mountain Smoker. You can that's easy to use, relatively inexpensive, and you do learn some fire management skills with that. If you really want to learn fire management skills, go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy one of those $99 tin can offset smokers, right? And you'll learn all kind of fire management skills with that, won't you?
Yeah, you'll be lighting a lot of fires in it.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about getting up to check the fire because you'll never go to sleep.
Yep.
Because they're just so hard to use. But I'm like David, make it easy on yourself, man. Don't fight it. Embrace it. And whatever you find you get comfortable with, by all means, use that. David, when you're developing your flavors for your rubs, and we talked about, the kind you started with, you like that big pop, and now you're kind of more into savory. And, we were talking about, the one, everybody's always asking, what's the secret weapon? And in barbecue. And, it's really, it's about salt. If there's one thing that makes everything taste better, it's salt. And what I like about your rubs that we carry is, a lot of them are, of course, most rubs are salt-based. And but you combine, like one of my favorites, Grilling Addiction is, of course, my favorite. And that's the best-selling rub we've got at the store. But one of my favorites is the brisket and steak rub. And tell everyone what that has a very unique taste in it, and there's something really sweet that's in that rub. Tell us about that.
It's got some sugar in it, and it's also got a hint of lemon.
Yeah.
And that little citrusy, and you can't pick it up unless you knew it was there, but that little bit of citrusy, it helps bring saliva to the mouth, and then that's what the salt picks up, and it brings everything, and that entices the flavors of everything going on. That's some of the I'm not going to say trick, but that's what allows a great chef to bring flavors to a palate or to a table, is that they start out with their courses. They start out light. They do this. Mm-hmm. They start waking up your taste buds as you go through this course. And in very fine dining, they will walk you through and have you eat the way they want you to eat. And that is part of what they're doing, is they're waking up your taste buds in an order that they want you to taste, all the way through to the dessert, the sweet of the end. And that is what great rubs should be able to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, David. And all the rubs that you carry let's talk a real bit before the break. Well, I'll tell you what, let's hold it, Joe. We're going to go to a break in about 10 seconds. I'm going to hold the question about the pecan rub for after the break, David. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop is Smoking Barbecue Day. It starts at 11 o'clock. It'll go until 4. We've got 3 demonstrations, 2 barbecue, a pork butt, and a brisket demonstration. And Sean, our own Sean Cosby from here in Chattanooga, will be doing a steak demonstration at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Robert Vanderripe and Trey Terry, I almost forgot Trey's last name, will be doing the pork butt and the brisket demonstrations at 11:30 and at 2 o'clock. And then Sean will be there at 3 o'clock. And all through the day, we'll have free barbecue, pulled pork. We've got briskets. We're going to have a brat bar. And my main man, Jeff Maxwell, who is manning the chat room for us now, he's going to be our brat hostess and with the mostest. And he'll be slinging out the brats. We'll have plenty of beverages. And we've got, David, when I got my last shipment of Green Mountain Grills in, one of the guys he comes around the store, and he's carrying a bottle of wine. And I said, "Where did you get that?" And he said, "This was on top of the shipment of grills you just got." So thank you, Green Mountain Grill. You couldn't have come at a better time. And so we'll have free wine until it runs out. And my friend Carl Sodergren will be there. He'll be tending bar. And, of course, my buddy Perry Collins, he will be there answering all your questions about the Green Mountain Grill. He is now a Green Mountain Grill pellet cooker expert, and he'll be there answering all your questions about that. Fun day tomorrow scheduled for the Smoke and Barbecue Day at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop in Ooltewah. We'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to The Barbecue Show with Steve Ray and our special guest, David Bouska, here on Talk Radio 102.3 WGOW. Stay with us. There we go. We'll be back in just a little bit. Do you like these breaks, David?
Oh, yeah. I've done a few other ESPN shows. There's that one out of St. Louis I've done. I did a different one out of the Colorado area.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I understood what you were saying the other day when you mentioned it. Yeah.
Good.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, we good?
Yeah, it's going great. And all we got to do is get that. We'll work on that this week. I don't think it's on my end. I don't see how it could be. We haven't changed anything.
Well, I mean, Dave, we switched out a computer here in the studio, and he didn't plug something back in on another situation we had, so it could be on our end. So yeah, we'll get together and figure that out for next week.
Yeah, we'll do that Monday. It's no big deal. If this is the worst thing that happens on the first show, Joe, we're great. We're golden.
I was about to say, we can practice as much as we want to, but when it comes airtime or show time, anything can happen. So
no, it never fails. I did an entire show with the other night, or on Facebook, that they couldn't hear my guess. So
oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it was a Skype problem. So what happens?
All right, you want me to just do the same thing? Bring us back in.
Please do. That'd be great.
Okay, it'll be just a few.
David, my buddy Al Selvage is in the chat room. He says grilling addiction is great. He loves it.
That'll be a good one we can talk about, because I got different styles of salt in that one.
I think there's.
Hey, Steve?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
When we get back, we're not going to have too much time before we have to take our last break, okay?
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so we need to take around
10 till?
52 the latest.
Okay, very good. I got it. Thanks.
All right.
David, grilling addiction is in everybody's cabinet in Ooltewah now. I think everybody's got some grilling addiction. As soon as I tell them that it was on every protein you turned in the 2018 Jack Daniel's Invitational that you just happened to win, that's a pretty good selling point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
Let's see. Well, it's good enough for that, so it ought to be good enough for my. One guy said he uses it on popcorn.
Oh yeah.
I tell you, I know you're on the fence with your hickory salt, but that's still one of my favorites.
Well, yeah, I'll shoot you an email about it tomorrow.
Yeah. I've still got a few of the turkey kits left I've been selling for the turkeys that you put out a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You still got those?
No, we don't. I'm
discontinued them.
I couldn't get anything together this year, but we're going to come up with a whole new deal for next year.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I'm so snowed under with new items I'm working on. It's absolutely crazy right now.
Well, I tell you, as a retailer, I appreciate you guys, all you guys, when y'all are developing new stuff, because people come in all the time, and they love it when they see something new, and they just love it, and that's so important. You got any podcasts in the can that you're getting ready to release?
No. I've been kind of under the weather, with the health, and I planned on getting back on it this week. I turned around Monday morning, stood up, and
welcome
go
back
get me
to
a
the
cup of coffee.
Barbecue Show with Steve Ray, 267-1023. If you have a question, Steve, take it away, brother.
Thank you, Joe. We're back on the Barbecue Show with Steve Ray, coming to you live on WGOW Talk Radio 102.3 and on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Facebook page, simulcasting every Friday night at 7 o'clock here on WGOW and the Owl's Nest Barbecue Facebook page. Our special guest is my friend. Sell a few of your rubs, and you said, yes, sir, and you fixed me right up. So you're the one to thank.
I don't know if you're trying to give me credit for that or blame me.
It's both. Hey, real quick, we're going to have to take a short break in just a little while, but we have time to talk about let's talk about two of my favorites, the pecan rub and the grilling addiction rub that is now in everybody's cupboard in Ottawa. Let's start with one of my favorites is the pecan rub. That's become my trademark flavor on my barbecue, and people love it.
Well, cool. Yeah, I had played with the pecan rub for several years just here at the house. I couldn't find a pecan flavor that I liked. I didn't want something that tasted like Kool-Aid, or I didn't want something that tasted like root beer or fake. And I had half a dozen different pecan flavorings right beside my big old easy chair, because I'd get something I'd try to be eating, and I'd put something on it. And it'd sit there, and 6 months later, I'd open it back up, and I can remember the wife saying, that flavor hasn't changed any. You didn't like it then, you're not going to like it now. And, and it took forever to find something that I liked, and, well, that's the pecan rub right there.
And let's talk about the grilling addiction. That's the Grand Slam home run, long bomb, hat trick of barbecue rubs.
I will say my favorite two rubs, well, now I've got a third one, and that's going to be our maple rub, but my favorite two rubs have always been the honey rub, and then when we introduced that grilling addiction, that's right there. If it's not ahead of my honey rub, I don't know what else would be, but that grilling addiction is probably my go-to rub I don't care what I'm cooking, I can put it on there. And so I agree. Talk about
the ingredients that are in the one mineral that you've got 2 or 3 different types in it.
That's the difference. It kind of goes with what we're talking about. It's a salt. Salt is a flavor, and we've got 2 kinds of salt in it, a very fine grind that I want to melt into the meat. Then we've got a flake salt that's in there, and the purpose of that is to actually set on the surface. So when you're eating, let's just say a ribeye, after you get through grilling it, I want that saltiness right out front, but a flake salt, when you're eating it like that, will get salty, but then it goes away. But I want the sodium of the stuff that's a fine ground to melt in with. We've got lemon zest in it, not lemon flavoring, but lemon zest in it. All that black you see in it is not just ground black pepper. Some of that is a lemon zest, a lightly toasted lemon zest. So that's what some of that is. So that is to help accentuate, that's a big word there, bring out bring out the flavors of the other stuff. So that's why we do what we do with it.
And everybody listening to David thinking, this guy sounds like the mad scientist of flavor. He is. And we're going to take a real quick break. And on the other side of this break, we're going to talk about David's quest to find the greatest flavor that he thinks is still out there. You're listening to The Barbecue Show with Steve Ray. Special guest David Bouska. We'll be right back, so stay with us. I went a little bit long on that second set, so I'm still a little bit rusty, David.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm still just a little bit rusty.
Oh, hat trick, my friend, hat trick. You'll put that hat on, you'll be just fine. Absolutely.
I'll get everybody. Thanks for listening. You've got a great audience. Jeff Rice of Dead Broke Barbecue is listening. David Ricer's listening.
Yeah,
he's our buddy, and he's talking up the grilling addiction as well. Jeff's you were talking about your short video career with all your GoPros and the time that none of them were. You did what, 3 hours of filming and none of them were on.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, Jeff's got he's using 4 cameras now in his setups. So
I'll sell him 2.
His stuff's pretty good. I want to remind everybody that
we'll have around 3 minutes when we get back. Okay.
Okay, you got it.
Do you want me text you a 1 minute warning, or just tell you 1 minute, or what do you want to do? Do you think you got it?
Just say 1. I'll hear you.
Okay. Thanks, man.
You heard that, didn't you, David?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal.
If he says 1 while I'm talking, I'll be quiet so you can do your extra.
Okay, good deal. We'll do a real quick little. Is there still a flavor out there? Because I liked your answer the last time we talked about that. I think people enjoy hearing that.
Good lands. I don't even know what I said.
I'm not going to tell you that wouldn't be right.
Man, you're going to put me on the spot on it. I love it.
You'll do just fine. You'll do just fine. Jeff said everything sounds good, David.
Jeff, I appreciate it.
He's such a suck up. He'll say anything. You keep sending him rubs, David. Hell, send him a grill. Everybody else does. Guys, you think you got a lot of grills? Trying to get Ricer moved down to Tennessee.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He'd fit in well down here. Is the Butcher Barbecue restaurant still up and running?
Yeah, super busy. Did a little filming down there today with some media people.
Good. That's good. I think barbecue weathered the COVID storm pretty good.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I think everything's been good.
I love those gray gloves you got in too, by the way, those little cloth gloves. I've been selling the houndstooth out of those.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yep.
People love that idea. They've never, a lot of people have never seen that, and they love that idea. Sliding those rubber gloves over them, they just love it.
Simplicity.
Yeah. Jeff says he likes to chit chat during the commercial breaks. It kind of gives you.
Oh, is this going live on Facebook? Boy,
yeah.
I'm glad I've kept it clean.
Oh yeah. We got to keep it. We got to keep it clean. I didn't even say anything to you. There's a few people I'll have to just ask them to tone it down a little bit.
Welcome back to the Barbecue Show with Steve Ray.
Thank you, Joe. Welcome back. Our special guest is David Bouska. David, in your quest for the perfect flavor, is the perfect flavor still out there that has not been found yet?
Oh, I'm sure it is. You know, I kind of go through stages myself, and I think it shows in the different rubs that I come out with over time. You know, I've went through sweet, I've went through salt, I've went through crazy flavors, wild flavors, umami flavors. There's heat, and I'm not a hot person. I don't like a lot of heat on my food. I like the flavor of the rub in with the food. But is there a perfect ultimate flavor? Yeah, I'm sure there's something out there. But man, off the top of my head, I don't know what it would be. I know I was doing some test cooking last night with a new injection I'm trying to perfect. And, well, it wasn't an epic fail, but it wasn't one that I would want to recommend at this very moment. So
you'll keep tweaking it. You'll get it. You'll get it done. You'll get it done.
Oh yeah, it's a great flavor. I just had it too concentrated. Let's just put it that way.
David, on social media, where can people find you at?
We are on, we've got a Twitter account, we've got a Facebook account, we've got an Instagram, and I don't do a lot on any of it except for Facebook, man. You'll go to the Butcher Barbecue Facebook page, you like that, share that. We appreciate it. We need everything we can do to help to spread the love of barbecue.
And David's too humble to even to mention it, but he has got a great podcast, and all of his podcasts are available on Spotify. And you talk about a guy that has connections in the barbecue world. David Bouska's got them, and he uses them, and he has had some of
1 minute, fellas. 1 minute.
Thank you, Joe. He has had some of the best guests on there. David, thank you for your time. I sure appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'll be talking to you next week. We got to phone in another order. Okie doke.
Steve, I appreciate it. I'm honored to be your first guest, and let me be the one of them to say I know you're going to have a very successful show here on the radio.
Thank you so much, David Bouska, Chandler, Oklahoma, Butcher Barbecue. Everybody, thank you for listening. Everybody on Facebook, thank you for watching. This is Steve Ray. We've got to go. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. And come by the store tomorrow. Free barbecue, free brisket at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop from 11 until 4 tomorrow. Until next week, as we always say, good night and good luck.